there. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is John Craig, and this is Walking in Spirit and Truth. It's really good to be with you this evening. And I am looking at some things that are very interesting, and I just want to share some things that I'm reading, some things that I'm discovering, things that are typically not talked about, but the message is so powerful. And I want to put these on the table. I want to get your thoughts on it. I'd like to see you. Any comments you might have there in the chat. So thank you all again for being part of this program. Before I go on a little bit further, I just want to let you know that Sandi and I pastor Life of Worship here in Amarillo, Texas. And so if you are ever in the area, we would love for you to come join us during our tour portion and during our services. We'd love for you to stop by and say hi, hug our necks. We want to hug your neck. Anyway, if you're willing to do that, I'm not saying we have to, but nevertheless, we would love for you to come by and be part of our tour portion, which is we meet on Shabbat at noon here in our facility at 4000 South Washington in Amarillo, Texas. So come by, be part. And that's at noon, about noon to 12. You can join us online too. So, well, I can't come to Amarillo. Well, join us online at our Life of Worship Amarillo YouTube channel and be part of the chat that way. We would love for you to be in our midst and part. And also, so that's from about noon till 2 o'clock on Shabbat, where we do the Torah portion. And we have a midrash, and we talk and discuss and teach and all that fun stuff. And we come back at 3 o'clock, and this is all Central Time. We come back at 3 o'clock. We have a time of praise and worship and ministry, and which we call our encounter service. Why is it as opposed to any other name? Well, we want to encounter our King. We want him to be in our midst and have that fellowship together. We want to join together as one. Also, not only that, it's followed by a message where we hope to bring a message that brings an inspiration, strengthen the body of Messiah, encourage one another. And so that's our Shabbat. So come join us on Shabbat. That is noon Central, and also 3 o'clock Central, where it's broken into two parts, but it's one service, our encounter service for praise, worship, ministry, and the message. So that is what we have here on the Lamb Network. We have Let Us Reason Together on Monday mornings at 8:30 Central Time. And we also have Walking in the Spirit of Truth that you're joining us right now. And we also, Sandi gets together with Mark David Smith on Thursdays for Planet Chapter. So these are all great things, live shows, live streamcasts that we have going on, and we're so glad that you're part of it. Okay, with that said, that's all that. We also want to say this. Look, we want you to partner with us in prayer, partner with us as financial contributors to this ministry. We cannot do it without you. And so be part of this ministry, be part prayer, be part in our chats, be part as we do different things together. Also be part financially, because we certainly need your influence and your help that way as well. So I'm going to put up here and show that at lifeofworshipamarillo.org, you can go to our website, and there you will find a donate button, and that'll connect you to our PayPal account, and you can donate that way financially. I know there's a lot of voices out there saying, hey, we need your financial need. Well, we do too. And we want to make sure that this word continues forth with all the time that we have in the hour that we're living. So there you go. That's it. Life of Worship, Amarillo.org. If you're just listening and you're not seeing the scroll on the bottom of my screen, it's www.lifeofworshipamarillo, and Amarillo is spelled Amarillo, Life of Worship Amarillo, one long word, .org. So, okay, with that said, I am going to go ahead and jump into this. It's been very interesting, an interesting journey. A lot of different things that I'm studying out from a perspective that I hadn't really seen before. Eddie Chumney, I'm going to give him credit, is a good part of that, where he came to Life of Worship and spent a lot of time with Pastor Sandi and I and talking about kind of the history and everything that went around the first century believers during the time of Messiah, who these disciples were, where they come from, the Second Temple period, the different communities that split, that are known as sects, sects, sects of the Jewish communities is what many call them in modern vernacular, and broken down into the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Essenes. And the Essenes, we see a lot of different things from the Dead Sea Scrolls about their community, but in the writings that were discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls, we see many similar things that are all part of what we call our New Testament culture since the time of Yeshua. Of course, we always go back to our Hebraic roots. We go back to for the understanding, the foundations, the growth, the understanding, the perspective of the prophets, and then, but in the apocryphal language of the time and in the writings that they have, we see that same type of language from the Torah, language from the prophets, language from that intertestamental period. Those things that they call the 400 silent years, they weren't 400 silent years. There's so many different things that were going on. These things were discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and what's been come to known as the apocryphal works, the pseudo-apocryphal works, which are not pseudo meaning false. These are all the writings of the day, the things like Jubilees and Yasher that were written, and other things that were discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls, things that have been kept silent for so many years, but have been coming out in these later times. What do? They give us understanding. They help us round out our understanding. We see things written in the book of Revelation that are they borrowed from the Second Temple period, or do they emphasize the word of the Spirit that was coming out of those days, the very things and the understandings of John the Immerser, the Yochanan the Immerser, and what was he saying, this voice that was crying out in the wilderness, the titles and the names of people, the teacher of righteousness, the teacher of the way, the people of the Yahad that were of the time of Yeshua and before. And after, we see this blending of the people that came in, and they were believers in Yeshua the Messiah. Who were these? Who were those whose hearts were prepared to receive the word Yeshua, that seed that blew up in the second chapter of Acts? Where did they come from? What was the message? Did the message ever change? These are all different things that I know for those that are listening, this may be kind of a new concept, as if there was a change in message when the time of Yeshua came, or was it simply an emphasis on a message that never ever stopped? And we get inklings and understanding of those things when we begin to study out those messages and the letters and the writings and the scrolls of these prophets that went before us. And so one of those that I've been studying out and been looking at, and I was going to think, well, can I go through this whole book during this time? A while back, Sandi was not able to teach, and I talked about one of the books, Tolbit, and kind of went into a discussion of that. And I think I had a little bit of a discussion on the about Bel and the dragon, and so there were some interesting things that we found out and we learned from that. Well, tonight I am looking in the Sefer edition, and that's Dr. Pigeon and his team that have put together this translation. I've got it right here. You can see it, the Sefer. You can actually get the Sefer on your eSword and download it, but you don't get the apocryphal books. And I was actually need to find out if I can download the apocryphal books and put those into my eSword for reference. I would really like to do that. I need to see if that's possible. But nevertheless, I've got my hard copy. This is not the millennial edition that they have, the millennial edition. That is a later edition to what I have. I've got the edition right before it. So I'm looking at Ezra, which is also known as 4 Ezra, or it's also known as 2 Esdras. 2 Esdras. Well, who is this guy Ezra? Well, it's the same one that if you go in and you look in most of our English Bibles and you see Nehemiah and Ezra, it's the same guy. Ezra that we see in those English Bibles, we also can find out that he was a scribe. And he was documenting many different things, but he was more than a scribe. We see him in the role of a prophet. But it's very interesting when we look in the Sefer here. Pardon me as I look down at my Bible. It doesn't mean I'm not trying to look at the screen, anything that's going on. But looking here in Ezra, 4 Ezra, or 2 Esdras, chapter 1, in verse 1, it says, the second Sefer, the Sefer we're talking about, a book or a scroll, of the prophet Ezra, the son of, and here is what I found very interesting. And this is the son of Serayahu, the son of Azaryahu, the son of, and it goes on and it lists all these different things. And then it goes back to the son of Shalom, the son of Zadok, Zadok, we might say that in English. Zadok, he was a descendant of Zadok, the son of Achayatuf, the son of Avishua, and it goes back, the son of, here it says Pisinasek, which is Phineas, Pincus, and it's just saying it in a different way. The son of Eli, the son of Amaryahu, the son of Azaryahu, the son of Marioth, the son of Baki. And it goes back, here's another son of Phineas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aharon, of the tribe of Levi. Okay, so there's his lineage. So who is Ezra? He comes from the line of Zadok, from the line of Phineas, of the line of Eleazar and Aaron. Okay, so there's his lineage. This is who this guy is. So what does that mean? Of the Zadok priesthood, he's a priest. And so therefore of the priesthood, he is elevated to a position that we need to, of one that we need to be listening to. Okay. But it's very interesting what some of the things that I found out at reading about this is that he's not unlike you and I. When we look at the world that we're living in and the things that he was struggling with are the very things that we struggle with in trying to understand the day and the hour that we're living. Why is there so much wickedness in the world? Why does it seem that the wicked seem to prosper and the good seem to be punished, and even that righteousness seems to be snuffed out in our day? Ezra, he's a contemporary of Jeremiah. He was taken into captivity. We find out that it was during that time that he is living in Babel, in Babylon, and even 30 years into the captivity. And he's like questioning, saying, why is it that these wicked Babylonians are allowed and permitted to live, and we are being pressed down, and we're finding such slavery in these times, and can we not escape, or can we not find a break? And when will the wicked be punished? And when will the righteous rise up? These are the questions I think most of us have. We have those questions. We have those, like, all of the things that are happening in the earth. And if you're looking at the stuff that's going on in the earth, why is it that such wickedness is allowed to rule and reign? And of all the different things, he points out this dichotomy that's going on, that there's this evil that comes from what we would look at an opposition, and the evil that comes from the people that we see as coming from the tribes. And why is it? And so he takes his complaints to Yahweh, and as if he's trying to understand them through this, beseeching Yahweh, beseeching the Most High with these questions, and yet then confronted by the one he is confronting, saying, why is it that you would presume to know all things and try to know the master plan, because you are just a mortal? And the Most High has all of these things from the very beginning. When there was even darkness in the earth, Yahweh had understanding of the time. So these are some of these things that Ezra is looking at, and when he's like having these questions of why would you forsake us or forget us, and those very questions are turned around back at Ezra and says, and the questions are, why have you departed? Why have the people become wicked and departed from my ways? And so this questioning goes back and forth. Well, how could this ever be allowed? And yet the same question comes back in the first chapter, is this. These are the questions. Thus says El Shaddai Yahweh, the quails were assigned to you. And he's talking about, okay, going all the way back to Egypt, when the people were brought out of Egypt, and they were given safe passage to get to the mountain. And he says, I gave you light in a pillar of fire, and great wonders have I done among you. Yet have you forgotten me, says Yahweh. Thus says El Shaddai Yahweh, the quails were as a sign to you. They wanted meat, they got meat. It was a sign to you. I gave you tents for your safeguard. Nevertheless, you murmured there. In your tents you murmured. And this is Ezra. And he's this talking as if it happened in Ezra's lifetime, but it didn't. But it is part of our heritage, correct? And triumph not in my name for the destruction of your enemies, but ever to this day do you yet murmur. You're still murmuring against me. That's what Yahweh is saying. You still have your complaints against me. Where are the benefits that I have done for you? When you were hungry and thirsty in the wilderness, did you not cry unto me, saying, why have you brought us into this wilderness to kill us? It has been better for us to have been served the Mitzrayim, the Egyptians, than to die in the wilderness. Then I had pity upon your mournings and gave you manna to eat, and you did eat angels' bread. When you were thirsty, did I not cleave the rock and, separated the rock, and waters flowed out to your fill? For the heat I covered you with the leaves of trees. I divided you a fruitful land, and I cast out the Canaanites and the Perizim and the Pelashittim before you. And what shall yet do more for you, says Yahweh. Thus says El Shaddai Yahweh, when you were in the wilderness, in the river of Amarillo, being athirst and blaspheming my name, I gave you not fire for your blasphemies, but cast a tree in the water and made the river sweet. What shall I do unto you, O Yaakov? O Yehuda, would not obey me. I will turn me to other nations, and unto those will I give my name, for they may guard my statutes. Seeing you have forsaken me, I will forsake you also. When you desire me to be gracious unto you, I shall have no mercy upon you. Whensoever you shall call upon my name, I will not hear you, for you have defiled your hands with blood, and your feet are swift to commit manslaughter. Ye have not, as it were, forsaken me, but your own selves. He's saying you forsook yourselves when you turned your back on me, is what he's saying. Thus says El Shaddai Yahweh, have I not prayed you as a father his sons, as a mother her daughters, a nurse young babes? Basically, he's just saying, look, you turned your back on me, so I turn my back on you, Judah. And this was at a time when Babylon had invaded by King Nebuchadnezzar and took away the people into captivity into Babylon for 70 years. And he says, I gathered you together as a hen gathers her chickens under her wings. But now, what shall I do unto you? I will cast you out from my face. When you offer unto me, I will turn my face from you. From your solemn feast days, your new moons, your circumcisions have I forsaken. I sent unto you my servants, the prophets, whom you have taken and slain and torn their bodies in pieces, whose blood I will require of your hands. There's the manslaughter, says Yahweh. I'm put through that in. There's the manslaughter. You killed the prophets. Thus says El Shaddai Yahweh, your house is desolate. I will cast you out as the wind does stubble, and your children shall not be fruitful, for they have despised my commandment and done the things that is an evil before me. Your houses will I give to a people that shall come, which not having heard of me, yet shall believe me, and to whom I have shown no signs, yet they shall do the things that I command them. They have seen no prophets, yet they shall call their sins to remembrance and acknowledge them. I take to witness the grace of the people to come, those little ones, whose little ones rejoice in gladness. And though they have not seen me with bodily eyes, yet in the Ruach, in the Spirit, they believe the things I say. I'm going to ask you this. What generation is he talking about? What generation is he saying, look, so the people of the land turn their back on me, so I turn my back on them. And I raise up another people, and though they've not seen me, they believe me. Even though they didn't have prophets, they believe my word. And I raise them up. And by the Spirit, they believe these things. I'm really amazed at the prophetic insight that may have been spoken to Ezra, who's in captivity in Babylon. And yet, let's bring it into perspective that what is happening in our world today is about a people who has been held in captivity by the same spirit of Babylon. And it doesn't matter if it is people living in Western Europe, is that or people that are living in the United States, or people that are living in the land that they call the state of Israel today. I am looking at that and saying, yeah, Linda, I see your comment. Is that us, the remnant? I lean to that, Linda. That's exactly what I'm saying, is that it seems to be that there has been reserved a people that has not even seen the land, didn't even know. And yet our spirits were awakened to that word. Our spirits were awakened, and we begin to hear the voice of the Spirit, because the ones that went before us refused to hear the voice. We came to Yeshua, and it brought our sins into remembrance and acknowledged that we had sinned before the Most High. So this is one of the things about here in 4 Ezra, or 2 Esdras, which is also known by, that Ezra, the priest of the Most High, of the line of Zadok, of the Zadok priesthood, which is of the line of Eleazar and Phinehas or Pinchas, as many have said, or from Eleazar and to Aaron. And this is the righteous lineage that we see even in the Zadok priesthood in Ezekiel chapter 44. And this is Ezra who is saying, wow, my mind is blown away. There's so much more that we need to know. And Ezra is saying, look, I don't understand. I don't understand these things. And he's saying, look, and as going on into chapter 2 of for Ezra, he says, but the land lies in ruins, basically. But then it says, thus in verse 10 of chapter 2, thus says Yahweh unto Ezra, tell my people that I will give them the kingdom of Jerusalem, which I would have given unto Israel. Their glory also will I take unto me, and give these the everlasting tabernacles, which I had prepared for them. They shall have the tree of life for an anointment of sweet savor. They shall neither labor nor be weary. Go, and ye shall receive. Pray for a few days unto you, that they may be shortened, that the days may be shortened. The kingdom is already prepared for you. Watch. Take heaven and earth to witness, for I have broken the evil in pieces and created the good, for I live, says Yahweh. And so we have this hope that's given to him, saying, look, I know that the people have been scattered, but I want you to tell the people that I am going to show mercy. So these are some of the things I've just been highlighting here in this in the Sefer, because it really brings me hope when we look at the stuff that's going on, that even we see wickedness going on in the land that is being occupied, and it's being occupied by different parties, people that are not believers in Yahweh, people that have a form of godliness, but they deny its power. We see a people that believe in the moon god that are trying to also occupy the land. And we see injustices going on in the land today. And these injustices are being committed by both sides. And yet we say, well, what are the origins of this wickedness? Well, we have to understand the historical nature of what's been going on in the land, and saying that what we see in the land is ultimately when they've turned their back on Yahweh and they've held to a form of godliness and denied its power, they've held to extra biblical sources of commentaries and of leadership that have turned away from the true teacher of righteousness, away from the true way. When they've not sought after Yeshua, they've sought after a religious order and set up their own religious order. However you want to frame it, they turn their back on the Most High, saying that their very word, that Yahweh must bow his knee to their word if they have come to an agreement upon it. And so blasphemy has come to the Most High when man has elevated themselves above the Most High. And that's really bad. It's really sad. Yeah, I agree, Linda. It's what she says. It's the same today. There are those who hear about Torah. I'm going to stick it there on the screen. Those who hear about Torah and refuse to follow it. Absolutely. And you know what? There's so many dimensions to that we hear the word and then we pick and choose what we want to hear about it. But this is kind of the story of Ezra. This is where his complaints are. And in fact, his complaints are so large. It's not only that Yahweh is speaking to him, Yahweh sends an angel one of the 7 angels that are named and listed, one of those angels comes and speaks to him and to deliver and to bring more emphasis of the message of Yahweh. And in verse 17 it says, "Fear not, you mother of the children, for I have chosen you, says Yahweh. For your help will I send my servants Esau and Yermayahu, after whose counsel," and I think it's when it's using that word Esau, not, I don't think that's the Esau and as in terms of the Edomites. I don't understand why they translated that way here in this, and I'm thinking it might be Elisha or Eliyahu, and it says, and then also Yermayahu or Jeremiah, "After his counsel I have sanctified and prepared for you." And this is what then he brings this apocryphal language. It's very interesting. After whose counsel, so he's talking about these 2 prophets, and he says, "After whose counsel I have sanctified and prepared for you," talking to Ezra, "12 trees laden with diverse fruits." Well, tell me, where do we see within the scriptures that we have 12 trees laden with diverse fruits? It reminds me of Revelation chapter 21, where it talks about these trees that are planted by the living water, by this river, that bear fruit in their season. So it's very interesting that he brings up 12 trees laden with diverse fruits. So this is apocryphal language that we see in the language of John in the book of Revelation. "And as many fountains flowing with milk and honey, and 7 mighty mountains, whereupon there grow roses and lilies, whereby I will fill your children with joy." So we have this apocryphal language saying to Ezra, look, the time's going to come that the time of wickedness and evil will end, and the time that I have of joy will come, and the children, and I will fill your children with joy. So he goes on and he tells Ezra, he says, well, like, what do you do in the meantime? Well, he's going to tell him. And we see some language in there that we see James or Yaakov in the New Testament, in the Brit Hadashah, even saying, which is, "Do right to the widow, judge for the fatherless, give to the poor, defend the orphan, clothe the naked, heal the broken and the weak, laugh not a lame man to scorn, defend the maimed, let the blind man come into the sight of my clearness, keep the old and young within your walls. Whosoever you find the dead, take them and bury them, or wheresoever you find the dead, take them and bury them, and I will give you the first place in my resurrection." So if you want to know, what do we do in the meantime? Well, we do right to the widow. We judge for the fatherless. So give to the poor, defend the orphans, clothe the naked, heal the broken and the weak. In other words, keep doing what I told you to do. James repeats these things in the book of James. We see that in James chapter 2. These are the righteous acts. This is what the Torah is all about. We look for those that don't have, in order to make sure that they're taken care of along the way as well. And he says, "Then I will give you the first place in my resurrection." Well, I think that's a good thing. "Abide still, O my people, and take your rest, for your quietness will come." So in other words, just chill for a little longer, chill for a little while. And if by some token that we pass away in the meantime, it's okay, because the resurrection will come, and you'll be first place in my resurrection. I like that. I like those. "Nurse the children, oh good nurse. Establish their feet." As in other words, make sure they grow up in these same teachings. "As for the children whom I have given you, there shall not one of them perish, for I will require of them from among your number. Do not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness comes, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but you," now he says, now if you've been doing these things, he says, "others in the day of trouble shall weep and be sorrowful, but you be merry. You shall be merry. Don't we have some things like Psalm 91 that we rely on, we go back to and we look at and say, okay, Psalm 91 is really a passage. I've always said this, and I even said it on Shabbat. Psalm 91 is for those of us that are living in the day and the hour that we're living right now. For those that are living in the day of trouble and the day of heaviness. And when that comes, we've got Psalm 91. And where others will weep and be sorrowful, but you shall be merry and have abundance. Why? Because we sowed into the lives of others. And I think that's really cool. And then it says that the heathen shall envy you, but they shall be able to do nothing against you, says Yahweh. My hand shall cover you so that your children shall not see Sheol. Isn't that what Psalm 91 says? That about that will be hidden in the secret place, that will be covered under his wings, and none of these things shall come to us. It really gives me hope here. And here we see this theme that gets traded back and forth between the writers in the Tanakh and the prophets, and those things that we see even in the Brit Hadashah, a consistent theme of the heart of the Most High. Be joyful, O mother, with your children, for I will deliver you, says Yahweh. And it's interesting, and I understand, and I always say Yahweh, and Dr. Pigeon and his team, when they wrote this out, they write it as Yahweh, Yahweh, and he says why, and he says why we think that this is the pronunciation, because other names within Scripture that are proper names and how they're spelt out and how they're used gives us that pronunciation of Yahweh when we say Yod He Vav He as possibly this is the pronunciation of it, but I don't want to get into that so much but it says, remember your children that sleep, for I shall bring them out of the sides of the earth and show mercy unto them, for I am merciful, says Yahweh Tsabaoth. Embrace your children until I come. Show mercy unto them, for my wells run over, and my grace shall not fail. Beautiful language here. And it says in verse 33, chapter 2, I, Ezra, received a charge of Yahweh upon Mount Oreb, that I should go unto Israel. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught, and despised the commandment of Yahweh. And therefore I say to you, O heathen, that hear and understand, look for your shepherd. He shall give you everlasting rest, for he is nigh at hand, that shall come in the end of the world. Be ready to the reward of the kingdom, for the everlasting light shall shine upon you evermore. Flee the shadow of this world. Receive the joyfulness of your glory. I testify my Savior openly. He's like, man, he is a witness and a bold witness. And even though they rejected it, he says, look out. In fact, I really love some of the language that's in Enoch. It has the same type of language talking about, and the book of Revelation, the same type of language talking about the Savior, the shepherd, the shepherd who and the language of the sheep, and the shepherd who rises out from among the sheep and gathers them together. It's all part of this apocryphal language. And here Ezra is bringing out the same type of thing. And he says, oh, receive the gift that is given you. Like he's pleading. He says, and be glad, giving thanks unto him that has led you to the heavenly kingdom. Arise up and stand. Behold, the numbers of those that be sealed in the feast of Yahweh. Oh, another reason to go to celebrate the feast of Yahweh, because there's a sealing. A sealing. I think I wondered, did we get sealed at Sukkot? Did we get sealed at Shavuot? Did we get sealed at Passover? What sealing what type of seal do we receive when we celebrate the feast of Yahweh? And it goes on, which are departed from the shadow of the world and have received glorious garments of Yahweh. So those that have departed have received glorious garments of Yahweh, the robes of righteousness. Whew. Okay, all right. So I'm getting pretty excited when I read this. Take your number, O Zion, and shut up those of yours that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the Torah of Yahweh. All right. So now here's this word. All you New Testament only type of people, you're missing out here, because Ezra, a prophet, is saying that take your number, O Zion, and shut up those of yours that are clothed in white. Well, who gets to be clothed in white? A lot of times we look at the robes of righteousness that Paul talks about over in 1 Corinthians, and we talk about that we are clothed in righteousness. Well, how are you clothed in righteousness unless you are the ones who also are fulfilling the Torah of Yahweh? Well, how do you fulfill the Torah of Yahweh? Well, you got to read it and study it, and you need to get into that word, because it says right there, and shut up those of yours that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the Torah of Yahweh. So live it out to its fullness, and then you fulfilled the Torah. And how do you do that? Well, start what I just read earlier about taking care of those that are least among you, just like it says in the Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 6. Okay, just as it says there. Well, how do you fulfill it, and how do you get the full understanding of it? Well, I'll go back to the beginning. We just started the Torah portions all over again. We started back in Genesis. We've gone through 2 Torah portions. Get in there, read them, get caught up, because we're ready to go to Lech Lecha this week. So moving on, it says, I, Ezra, saw upon Mount Zion a great people, whom I could not number, and they all praised Yahweh with songs. Okay, I'm going to give a little rebuke to those people who think that praise and worship have no place in our community. Well, how come Ezra saw in this vision upon Mount Zion a great people who he could not number, and they all praised Yahweh with songs? With songs. Why do we think we have an interlude of no songing, no singing, or something like that? There's still stuff that happened in our apostolic brothers' congregations. When they sing, they're doing a prophetic act. And so we bring praise and worship in at Life of Worship, because it's a prophetic act and a preparation, just like Sukkot is preparation, just like Shavuot is preparation, just like celebrating the feast days are all preparations and prophetic. Then so are gathering together and singing songs a prophetic act and a preparation for that which is happening in our future. So don't forget that. Understand it's really big. So, well, I'm not big into singing, or I don't know the songs, or my voice is bad, or whatever. Get over it. Practice it in your prayer closet, and then you'll have more confidence when you come together in the congregation. It doesn't matter, though. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what it sounds like. The important thing is prepare your voice, just like we prepare when we go to Sukkot. When we prepare on the 6th day, preparation day, we prepare for Shabbat. We gather together on Shabbat, and we do that. Why? Because it's preparation. It's a mikra. It's a time of rehearsal for that which is to come. It's all related together. I mean, after all, it's very important. And it says, I'm going to read it again. This is verse 42 of Ezra, chapter 2, verse 42. I, Ezra, saw upon Mount Zion a great people, whom I could not number. Remember, like the sea of glass that's talked about in Revelation chapter 6, I think it is. And it's the martyrs that are underneath the throne of God. And they're all crying out unto Yahweh. And then also there's the sea of glass. What is that? It's a sea of people. And what are they doing? They are all exalting and lifting up the name of the Lamb. And they're all singing together the song of Moses and the song of the Lamb. And so therefore, if they are going to be singing and we don't know how to sing now, how are we prophetically preparing ourselves, rehearsing together for that day that we'll join our voices together. Okay, I'm on a soapbox here, but it's very important. Be singers. You know, if you knew how to play an instrument when you were a child or a teenager or whatever, then get the instruments out. Singers need instruments. We need an orchestra and we need a choir. The Most High needs it, and the angels are longing to hear our voices to join together with theirs. I taught about that at Sukkot, and that is very much in the song, the songs of the Sabbath sacrifice. It's in there. The angels long to join together with our voices, and our voices united with theirs, so that the Most High has a full sound of praise. All right. Okay. So we're moving right on here. Ezra saw upon, I'm emphasizing this is very important. Ezra saw upon Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised Yahweh with songs. And in the midst of them, there was a young man of a high stature. This is a vision that Ezra is getting. I saw a young man of high stature, taller than all the rest. So he's in the crowd. And this young man that's taller than all the rest is, he says, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? And he answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on immortal, and have confessed the name of Elohim. And that's Elohim in capitals. That is, as in the Most High. Now are they crowned and receive palms, just like at Sukkot. We're supposed to bring, our branches. Or when Yeshua came into the city, they were waving palms and laying it at the feet of the donkey that he was riding. Then I said unto the angel, What young person is it that crowns them and gives them palms in their hands? And so he answered and said unto me, It is the Son of Elohim, whom they have confessed in the world. Did you hear that? This is like way before the time of Yeshua, and he's given Ezra, this priest of the Most High, a vision of Elohim. But it may be there what we have called, what Christians have called Palm Sunday. It's not Palm Sunday, but nevertheless, it is, we see the picture of the waving of the palms when the king, but yet it's Yeshua, the Son of the Most High, who is handing out the crowns and putting it on their heads at some future place and giving them these palms to wave and to celebrate with. And he asked them, it is, who are these people? And he says, and who is this young man that stands above the rest? It is the Son of Elohim, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to command them that stood so stiffly for the name of Yahweh. Then the angel said unto me, Go your way, tell my people what manner of things and how great wonders of Yahweh Eloheka you have seen. Wow. I'm just blown away by this. I hope you're seeing it with. Are y'all seeing this with me? Are you seeing this and catching the vision that Ezra is seeing? And he's looking at his time, and he's in Babylon. And he's looking to a time in the future when the Son of the Most High, Yeshua the Almighty, is crowning those who confessed his name. He's crowning them and putting palms in their hands. I don't know. I'm just like, wow. The one who deserves to be crowned is crowning. I mean, okay. I'm just like, wow. All right. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just stuck there. And Okay, so in this book of Ezra, he goes in. There's other times he's talking. He actually goes back to Genesis 2 or 3 times during a time of praying and fasting, and 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 during these, he has like 3 weeks, and he's like 7 days, and then all of a sudden he comes back around, and guess what happens during that? He gets another visitation of the Most High, and then he has this time of prayer and fasting, and he gets another visitation of the Most High, and he keeps getting these glimpses of the future, and he's questioning. He's questioning just like Joel, not Joel, but Job, Job, Job. He's questioning and says, "Look, um, why are these things happen? Why do the wicked prosper? Even remember that in the Psalms we see the questioning going on, and that even the wicked prosper, and the righteous are trodden. Well, this is some of this thing that's going on with Ezra, and I'm running out of time here. Let me see if there's something else that that he talks about. Oh yeah, this is something very interesting and probably worth bringing out when we get into Exodus chapter 19 and talking about what happened on the mountain. So going forward in chapter 3, and because he's recalling the past, he's talking about Genesis chapter 2, when he gave Adam a body without a soul, and then breathed into him, and he made him a living being. And then later on, he's just talking about, he talked about Abraham in Genesis chapter 12, which is Lech Lecha, that's going on. And he gave to him Isaac, and out of Isaac, he gets Yaakov, and also Esau, but he chose Yaakov over Esau, and then Yaakov became a great multitude, and the sea went down into Mitzrayim, to Egypt, and then he brought him out to Mount Sinai. And then at Mount Sinai, in verse 18, I want you to hear this word while I got a few minutes left. He says in verse 18, "And bowing the heavens, you did set fast the earth, moved the whole world, and made the depths to tremble, and troubled the men of that age. And your glory went through 4 gates." So this, if you go back to Exodus 19, you see the wind and the sound, the thunders, the shofars, and all that sort of stuff, and you remember that, and it shook. The people trembled and said, "It's way too much." Well, here he's getting a bigger glimpse. He says, "And bowing the heavens." I think at Mount Sinai that it was more than a trembling of the mountain. It says bowing the heavens. Well, how do the heavens bow from the perspective of someone that's on the earth, other than the earth may have tilted on its axis on the day of the giving of the Torah? "And bowing the heavens, you did set fast the earth, moved the whole world, and made the depths to tremble, and troubled the men of that age." It blows my mind. "And your glory went through 4 gates." And he lists the 4 gates of fire, and of earthquake, and of wind, and of cold, that you might give the Torah unto the seed of Yaakov, and diligence unto the generation of Israel. And yet took you not away from them a wicked heart, that your Torah might bring forth fruit in them. And he says, and still there was wickedness within them. Wow, I would have gotten dizzy. Yeah, I agree. That would have been, can you almost can't blame the people of Israel and saying that they trembled so much with such fear that they said, "Moses, you go listen to him and you just tell us, because we just can't take it." But it's because of the wickedness that was in their heart that they wouldn't separate from. So I pray that the word is so deep within us that whatever comes in our future, when his glory goes through the four gates of fire and of earthquake and of wind and of cold, that we're able to withstand that. And that his Torah will be so strong within us that we will bear the fruit that comes from that Torah, and that we will also find ourselves passing from death unto life, and we will be covered by his hand, as I read earlier. And this word and this book is worth studying out even that much more. I have so much more highlighted here that I want to go over and talk about. We'll have to do it at another time. But I want to say thank you so much for being part of this reading of for Ezra, or two Estras, as it's also been called. And we'll look into it even more. It's so cool. And so I hope you've enjoyed it. Like and share, and let's get the word out. Let's get people back in to study these things that need to be studied even that much more. So until next time, this is John Craig on behalf of Life of Worship here on the Lamb Network, and shalom.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hugie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.